Barbadian Live to you.
We are TV8.
In their Butterfield headlines,
the local economy is still expected to grow by 2%. Tourist arrivals up by 11% for the first 4 months of this year. And in sports, India takes a 2-0 lead in the Digicel Pearls series against the Windies.
Credible, balanced, committed. This is the CBC Evening News.
A very good evening to you. I'm Pearson Bowen. This is the CBC Evening News. Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says the Barbados economy is still on track to register growth this year of over 2%. Mr. Sinclair is on record stating that Barbados' recovery from the global economic and financial crisis will depend on how quickly its major trading partners rebound. He made the comments as he toured the offices of the Financial Services Commission on Waldron Street, the city, and met with its staff and board of directors. Peter Thorne has the story.
Mr. Sinclair says no one can reasonably predict what will happen in the world economically, noting that Barbados must try to minimize any fallout from the current global recession. But he believes despite challenges faced by Barbados' major trading partners, the island is on track to record positive growth in 2011.
Yes, I think we are pretty much still on target given the last review that I got from the central bank last Friday. I think we are still on target for anywhere between 2 to 2.5%. But of course, as you said, that is contingent on what happens among our major trading partners globally. Of course, those would represent the British economy, continental Europe to a lesser extent, United States and Canada, and of course CARICOM. The situation remains very unstable. It remains, the growth in those economies is also equally unstable and anemic. It is up one quarter, down the next. Up another quarter, down the next. When you get one good report today, you get a bad one tomorrow.
According to the finance minister, the Barbados economy is heavily influenced by external factors, adding that the price of oil continues to be of major concern.
The price of oil has been climbing generally on an upward trajectory. That has increased the cost of financing for government. It has frankly put a lot of pressure on our public finances. The increase in commodity prices, as you know, we import most of what we consume in Barbados by way of goods and services. That as well has put pressure on us. We have to continue rejigging the figures all the time to see, how we're going to manage it. But I think in the circumstances that we are continuing to manage that reasonably successfully.
The minister says that nearly 8 months following a hike in the value-added tax, he believes it's meeting its objectives.
The VAT from the last figures I saw last Friday seems to be performing reasonably well. It is not entirely where we want it to be. However, in the circumstances, it certainly is above what it was before, but we can do a lot better. I think where we are having difficulties is in the area of the corporate taxes on corporate profit.
Mr. Sinclair says the economy has not collapsed or gone into a free-for-all despite the prophets of doom and gloom. He also said the government is owed over $500 million by its creditors. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
Tourism officials in Barbados are smiling with the news of a significant increase in visitor arrivals for the first 4 months of this year. Information on the state of the industry came at the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's annual general meeting at the Barbados Hilton Hotel. But Executive Vice President Sue Springer says while the numbers are up, spending is down.
Long-stay arrivals recorded an increase of 11% from January to April. The UK market showed a major increase of 20%. However, this is compared with figures of last year when we had cancelled flights through to bad weather in January and also the volcanic ash situation that was encountered. A slight decline of 1.9 in the Canadian market, and this has been slightly impacted by WestJet, who are now operating into new destinations into the Caribbean, and they have also recently raised the airfares.
Ms. Springer has also disclosed that the United States market increased by 7% and there was also growth in Europe.
An increase of 29% in Germany, and of course that has been driven by the second Condor flight that we have had over this period. Other Europe has also increased by 16.8%, and we have seen a much more aggressive marketing approach. Just recently, some of you would have attended the seminar with 12 of the GSAs out of Europe here visiting us again, telling us what they were doing and the wonderful initiatives they were doing in all the markets, Russia, Holland, Belgium, France, Germany. And this is the second time that we have had the opportunity to see these GSAs and to really interact with them.
Well, plans are on the table for additional airlift out of Brazil. That announcement from Brazil's ambassador to Barbados, His Excellency Apio Claudio Acaron. The news comes on the heels of the one-year anniversary of the Gulf Airlines flight to Barbados. The service, which started last year, operates a non-stop service from Sao Paulo to Bridgetown. The ambassador says the response to the flight has been tremendous.
Of course, this is it's a private initiative from a Brazilian company, and I believe they have been studying all the Caribbean market for quite long. The idea would be, with this connection to Barbados, to establish in Barbados a hub of the whole Caribbean to South America, as well as in Brazil, a hub for South America to the Caribbean region. That would be the best thing if we can achieve it, and I think we are in a good direction now.
The ambassador said from a business perspective, Brazilians love something new, and Barbados was just that.
When it started the flight in last July, I was the first flight, inaugural flight, and it was an enormous good acceptance in the Brazilian touristic market. As a matter of fact, after the first months of the flight going on, there was even an upgrading of the plane, which they started with a small plane, which is the 737, but now it's a 767, which is a bigger plane with that translates a little bit the interest of the company, of the Brazilian company, to keep it up.
As Barbados moves to separate cruise activity from cargo handling at the Bridgetown port, 3 piers are to be constructed to cater to cruise ships only. This has been disclosed by Minister of International Transport George Hudson. Construction is to be undertaken in 3 phases beginning later this year.
2 in the first phase and 1 in the third phase. That those piers will facilitate an expanded home porting facility at the Bridgetown port, as well as facilitate the berthing of the mega cruise ships, the 225-ton class of cruise ships, or for those persons who would prefer to say the Oasis class of cruise ships. So that size vessel would be able to berth at this new facility.
And as part of the expansion of the cruise terminal, about 15 acres of land will be reclaimed.
These piers will be built in the area of the SO, what is the existing SO berth, and it is expected that, as I said, there will be some 15 odd acres of reclaimed land coming out of that exercise. And that reclaimed land, we intend to utilize that land for the build out of a number of shops and theme park and a number of different activities that we expect to construct.
We'll take a break here, but coming up, a financial company joins the battle against domestic violence. Signia Financial has joined the fight against domestic violence. The financial institution has revealed that it's working with the SAVE Foundation to combat this problem. Chief Executive Officer Anthony Shaw says 90% of Signia Financial's employees are female, and his company has taken a leadership role to improve the lives of women, children and families.
The first forms of this advertisement, domestic violence, takes many forms, will touch on the various forms of domestic abuse on individuals and family. The second in this series, Statistics on Domestic Violence, such as the one behind me, illustrates the prevalence of this violence in our Barbadian community and parishes. So we will also assist the SAFE Foundation in the various SAFE services which they offer to the victims of domestic violence. So at Signia, we hope to assist the community in relevant issues and issues which significantly impact our lives.
The founder of the SAFE Foundation, Lizelle Daisley, says Signia will help to promote the organization's hotline where victims will receive counseling and advice on how to handle their situation.
Here at Signia, for example, most of the employees are female, and this is another way we are teaming up with Signia to be able to provide counseling to any employees who might need it, who might find themselves in the unfortunate situation of a domestic issue. So we have a program called Safe for Work, and Signia is getting on board with that project, and we will be working very closely with them to keep their employees safe from the incidents of domestic violence.
Well, BMEX is just days away, and Representative for BMEX, Antoine Williams, says the challenge for manufacturers this year is to bring something innovative and different. Speaking on Morning Barbados, Mr. Williams says BMEX is making some changes this year to the whole feel of the exhibition.
BMA has to find ways to ensure that those patrons who are the loyal supporters and those who perhaps decide, well, I'm going to attend BMEX this year for the first time, we want to give them that wow effect so that when you arrive in the exhibition hall, it's not just the same old, same old.
Mr. Williams says some of the changes were to associate the names of different sections with elements of Barbadian culture, such as Mahogany Lane being furniture and Coconut Walk food and beverage, to name a few. He's encouraging exhibitors to incorporate these themes into their displays as well.
We want our exhibitors to feel the experience, the Barbadian experience, not only in the products and the displays, but certainly in the entire concept of the exhibition.
Well, the Garrison Secondary said farewell to 3 of its treasured teachers. Sandra Cadogan, Eric Smith and Richard Corbin were honoured at a retirement dinner on Saturday night. The respective heads of department paid tribute to their work throughout the years. The head of the English department regarded Sandra Cadogan as a selfless hard worker.
Of instruction and assessment. Her knowledge of dyslexia separates her from us. That is a special body of knowledge.
Eric Stewart was described by art teacher Gloria Akolabi as an organized, helpful person.
His easygoing and flappable disposition was like a ray of light in a darkened room all the time.
And speaking of Richard Corbin, the head of the General Studies Department said he is knowledgeable and thanked him for his years of service.
I'm very pleased and honored that I was able to work with you from '92 up to this period. I know at times it was not easy, but you made it through the rain.
Students at the Gordon Greenwich Primary School have been rewarded for their performance in the Common Interest exam. Carisha Gibson was especially commended as she received the 5th highest score on the island. Principal of the school, Angela Smith, says she's elated with the performance by the pupils who did exceedingly well.
It gives me great pleasure to celebrate with all the Class 4 children here at Gordon Greenwich, and especially to congratulate Carisha on her great achievement. Not only do I want to congratulate Carisha, but also our 2 top boys. We are very happy that our boys continue to perform well.
Well, Faylene Willoughby Gibson, Carisha's mother, says she and her dad, Kurt Gibson, are proud of her achievement.
We were extremely excited, more so elated when we got the news. We always knew Carisha would have done well, and I hope that she continues to do well at her new school.
Well, Carisha will be attending Queen's College when the new school year begins. Still to come, a look at stories making headlines across our region. Right now, the Courts Quiz. Who was Barbados' lone female jockey? In our Courts Quiz tonight, who was Barbados' first female jockey? Sonia Perkins.
Across the Caribbean, a look at the top stories making news in the region is brought to you with the compliments of First Caribbean International Bank. Get there together.
Trinidad's police commissioner is looking to transform the police service into a proactive agency. He says the aim is to decrease the country's crime rate.
We hope to get better as a policing agency. We hope to be able to get into more predictive, preventative crime fighting and less after the fact investigations. We also, even with those investigations that we have to take and undertake, we hope to do it better. We hope that our detection rates and that will become better as we start to revamp and transform the way we do things.
As the both parties seek to ensure the public's trust in the police service is restored, the Commissioner sought to assure that investigations are underway into cases where persons were killed by police officers. PSC Chairman Professor Ramesh Devsuran said, as a commission, the PSC is concerned with the number of police killings. Mr. Gibbs is assuring that these investigations will be thorough.
And all of these need to be investigated very, very thoroughly. Right now, I can assure you that our investigations are taking place to really ensure that all aspects of our due diligence, our policing efforts, were done properly, and also look at whether we can do things better in the future to prevent these type of tragic incidents from occurring.
Well, Barbados is among 3 Caribbean countries which have signed a cooperation agreement for the implementation of a project promoting firearms marking in Latin America and the Caribbean. This means that every firearm entering the countries involved will be registered as regional officials aim to crack down on the movement of illegal guns. The agreement is to be implemented with funding provided by the United States. The accord was signed by Secretary General of the Organization of American States, Jose Miguel Insouza, along with foreign ministers of Barbados and Grenada and St. Lucia's ambassador to the OAS. The OAS Secretary General said that they welcome the commitment of the governments of Barbados, Grenada and St. Lucia to strengthening controls and building up the capacity needed to combat arms trafficking more effectively. Trinidad and Tobago's Attorney General Anand Ramlogan says that CLICO had been operating an elaborate Ponzi scheme. This as the authorities there moved to make the directors of the company liable for its failure. Mr. Ramlogan says documents secured had indicated an alleged internal and an external Ponzi scheme. The Central Bank of Trinidad and Tobago and CLICO on Tuesday filed civil proceedings against the former chairman and owner of CLICO, Lawrence Dupre, who has been blamed for the collapse which has sent economic shockwaves throughout the Caribbean. A statement from the CBTT said that the civil proceedings have also been filed against former director Andre Monte, as well as CL Financial Limited, Dalco Capital Management Limited, and Stone Street Capital Limited, arising from the failure of CLICO.
Across the Caribbean is brought to you with the compliments of First Caribbean International Bank. Get there together.
Ahead in the Lime Sports World, Windies, India, cricket action. Before we get to that, however, our tip from Cooperators General Insurance.
Of the day is brought to you by Cooperators General Insurance Company Limited. Insurance the way you want it to be.
Decades for Action resolution call for greater action from government and recognize the crucial role that multi-sector partnership plays in implementing Decade of Action goals. This tip in association with the Decade of Action for Road Safety.
Welcome to Lime Sports World.
Good evening, I am Mark Seal with your Lime Sports World. The West Indies have gone 2 down in the Judicel Pearls One-Day International Series against India. Playing in the rain-affected second one-day at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad and Tobago today, the Windies lost by 7 wickets under the Duckworth-Lewis method. Sent into bat, the Windies looked set for a big total after being 192 for 3 in the 40th over. But they were held to 240 for 9 after 50. Ramirez Sarwan top scored with 56, while Linda Simmons added 53. Amit Misra took 4 for 31. In reply, India set a revised target of 183 in 37 overs, got home with 20 balls to spare. scoring 183 for 3. Man of the match, Virat Kohli, top scored with 81. Here are some of the highlights.
Back overhead. He hits down the ground really well, Simmons.
And it's a big one.
It's gone, it's high, and it's going to be 6. That's it. It's a wide, stumped off a wide.
Oh my.
He's hit that very hard to raise his 50. Bad delivery, and could be a dismissal here. And it is. Giving him out leg before. No, it doesn't. It doesn't make a difference.
That's not a bad shot at all. That's it hard. It's high in the air. Fielder is under it, and it's taken. Oh, he's given him hard and flat over long off's head. 6.
Lovely shot down the ground and past to the diving Bishu. Beautifully timed and placed. And caught. Really hit that well. That's a well hit 6.
Yes! Well, that's a good shot. That's a good hit with the turn over the fielder at mid-wicket. 6 to get to a half century. Gone for the big shot, and he'll get it. It's a 6.
It's in the air, and it's gone long. Very, very long indeed.
Well, the next one-day international will be on Saturday in Antigua. Recently, the attention in West Indies cricket was shared between the ongoing series and the West Indies Players Association 2010 award ceremony in Trinidad. Former West Indies captain Chris Gayle was the biggest winner on the night. The Jamaican opening batsman captured the International Cricketer of the Year as well as the Test Player of the Year following his massive 333 against Sri Lanka last year. Stephanie Taylor, who is also Jamaican, took the International Women's Player of the Year trophy. Karen Pollard and Wendy's captain Darren Sammy were adjudged the one-day and the 2020 Players of the Year, respectively. Guyanese leg spinner Devendra Bishu copped the Caribbean T20 Player of the Year, and the Emerging Player of the Year went to Trinidad's Darren Bravo, while teammate Imran Khan got First Class One-Day Cricketer Award. Barbados' Kirk Edwards was named First Class Limited Overs Player of the Year. The best first-class team, Jamaica, while Karen Joseph of Trinidad was chosen as the best under-19 player. Richie Richardson and Jeffrey Dujon were presented special awards for outstanding service to West Indies cricket. Now, just in time as a motivator for the Test series against India, a documentary on the glory days of West Indies cricket has been released. Fire in Babylon is a timely reminder of where West Indies cricket has been and where it hopes to return.
Oh, he's hit him. That may have broken his jaw. Fire in Babylon reveals the awesome power that was the West Indian team of the 1970s and 80s. The undisputed kings of world cricket dominated all before them, and their fearsome bowling attack inflicted much damage, often quite literally.
Anybody that joined that team, realized that we were very professional in every aspect of the game. And it was a great time for West Indies cricket, and I would think it was a great time for cricket in general.
Led by the legendary Clive Lloyd, the Windies bounced back from a dismal tour of Australia in the mid-70s to become the outstanding team in world cricket. Amongst their ranks, a quartet of lightning-quick bowlers. Probably the fastest of them all was Michael Holding, whose elegant run-up helped earn him the nickname Whispering Death.
Came from Dickie Bird, the great English umpire. Because Dickie said that when he was standing at end at which I was operating, he had to keep on looking behind him to see if I was running in, because he couldn't hear me coming. So I suppose that's the whispering aspect of it. And then he said that I was bowling fast enough to kill. So that's where the death came from.
With their fearsome pace attack, the Windies won the 50-over World Cup in 1975 and 79, and 11 consecutive tests in 1984, then a world record. There's no doubt the Caribbean's finest cricketers were rightly lauded for their skills, but there were some who believed their use of the controversial and often intimidating bouncer at times went too far.
Yes, it did, and it pleased me, to be honest, to know that someone would want to do a film about that era and about the time that the West Indies dominated cricket so much, because I think we also got a bit of bad publicity from the way we played the game. People were saying that it wasn't in the spirit of the game. So it's pleasing to know that this film is being made not by West Indians either. So it's great to know that other people appreciated what we did.
That golden era is now but a distant memory. Despite the standout efforts in recent years from the likes of Brian Lara, West Indian cricket suffered a decline in the 1990s from which it still never fully recovered. The Windies recently drew their series with Pakistan and now hopes are high ahead of the forthcoming test with visiting India.
After the break, we'll be switching to football and basketball.
Everybody wants something different from their mobile. Some people want to stay in touch. Others just want to stay on top of it all. Some people want to choose the right plan for their lifestyle. Others just want it all in a bundle. Some love getting more for their money by carrying over unused minutes. Others just want more convenient ways to top up. But hey, whatever you want from your mobile, chances are you will find it with Line. Line, for living every day.
Defending champions West Terrace, George Lamin, Cuthbert Moore and Wilkie Cumberbatch are into the semi-finals of the Byco Primary Schools football competition after the end of the round-robin playoff phase today. The matches today saw Wilkie suffering a 1-0 loss to Lawrence T. Gay. However, that loss didn't prevent Wilkie from advancing. The goal came when Nico Greenidge was taken down in the penalty box in the second half, and he was then the one to take the penalty, which gave his team the only goal in the game after the first half went goalless. George Lamin defeated Holy Innocents 8-0 to also book their place in the next round. So in Friday's semis at the stadium, it'll be George Lamin versus the champs, West Terrace, while Cuthbert Moore will take on Wilkie. The final is scheduled for June 18th. Game 5 tomorrow on MCTV's ABC channel as well as ESPN. Hundreds of well-wishers bid farewell this afternoon to former boxing referee and sports trainer Derek Herbert, who was laid to rest at Westbury Cemetery. CBC's Andy Thornhill attended the church service.
The Nazarene Church, Colombo Rock. That's where we all gathered in our numbers to celebrate the life of Derek Herbert for the final time. Family, friends, members of the sporting fraternity that he served so well over the years. Eulogized by Franklin Gill, tributing song by Richard Stout.
I'll look into your eyes and I'll hold you when you cry. It's not easy to say goodbye.
Thank you, Derek, for your human service. So long. Goodbye. Andy Thornhill, CBC Sports.
This has been Lime Sports World.
Tonight's business report is brought to you by the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, where you belong.
In business tonight, Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says he has no problem with public sector unions putting their wage demand on the negotiating table, but he says the country as a whole must be very cautious in approaching these matters given the issues facing the economy. His comments came as public sector unions and the Ministry of the Civil Service prepare to meet later this month for the first round of wage negotiations for public sector workers. The last wages contract between government and public sector unions expired on March 31st, 2010, and civil servants are now owed just over a year in wages by the current administration.
In the context of what we know, and the unions have expressed this is not something that they've hidden. They have said themselves that they understand the situation. They know that we have to exercise restraint and constraints on what we have, and that they are coming to the table with a very reasonable and open mind. But a union has a job to do, and their job is to put for the best interest of their members. A government has a job to do, and it is to put the best interest of the entire country.
Well, years after being mooted, the Financial Services Commission is now a reality. That body came into operation on the 1st of April and is a semi-autonomous regulatory entity under the aegis of the Ministry of the Finance. It was established to supervise and regulate the non-bank financial services sector in Barbados. These include the insurance industry, mutual funds, credit unions, brokers, dealers, underwriters, traders and investment advisors. The Commission's offices are located at Waldron Street, the city, and it has a staff of about 25. The body is chaired by former President of the CDB, Attorney at Law Sir Neville Nichols. Other members are Professor Frank Allen, Jefferson Cumberbatch, Debbie Fraser, Lawson Yearwood, Felton Burton and Margaret Sivers. Well, here's a look now at how the indices performed on some of the region's exchanges.
The Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union. This is where you belong. Over the years, we've cared for you to help you meet your needs. Trustworthy, dependable, so you can grow financially. The Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union. Strong Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union. This is where you belong.
Oil prices breached the $100 a barrel mark after OPEC said it could not reach an agreement about raising crude production. The cartel had been under intense pressure to raise production as oil prices approached $120 a barrel last month.
The market was looking for some clarity today, and OPEC walked away and gave them a very muddled message. And I think the interventions by the International Energy Agency, the White House today, and also the U.S. Central Bank Governor, Mr. Bernanke, saying that, in fact, this was a challenge and the U.S. economy is starting to show signs of weakness, didn't help the proceedings here, particularly for the Gulf states. They didn't want to be seen bending to the West too much while they have one of the countries in their region right at war. That's an oil producer, and that's Libya. Libya was around the table today, so it did complicate matters. And let's go back to your point as you came to the discussions with me. Two distinct camps. You have the hawks, who want to maintain $100 oil, and you have the doves, who are willing to put more oil on the market. Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Kuwait were trying to persuade the rest to come their way.
Well, that's business today, and the rains are coming in. Selma, what's on the horizon? She'll tell us after the break.
Tonight's business report was brought to you by the Barbados Public Workers Cooperative Credit Union Limited, where you belong.
Good evening and welcome back. And definitely some showers, possible thunderstorms are in the forecast, Pearson. And that's the scoop, but I'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a moment. Today, though, across Barbados, we enjoyed quite a bit of sunshine, even though we had some showers, warming up the island to a high of 31.3 degrees Celsius. And overnight, we saw the temperature dip to 26.4. The nights are really warm and a little bit uncomfortable in some areas. Right now, still warm on the outside, the relative humidity 88%. And the winds are light and coming in from the east-southeast. And we go to the Atlantic first. Not a whole lot happening there. No tropical waves headed our way tonight, which is unusual. The Atlantic is fairly quiet. One tropical wave now going through our area. The axis is along 61 degrees west. No serious showers associated with it at the moment, but as it passed through earlier, because of local activity in the area of Barbados and the Windward Islands, moisture and instability, it would have generated some showers as well as some thunderstorms here in Barbados and across the Windward Islands. And skies were cloudy in our area, but that cloud mass has now shifted towards the north and is affecting the northern islands. Skies are cloudy there at the moment, and they are getting some showers as well, and as well as rain overnight. Antigua as well as St. Lucia had significant shower activity from that system. Winds are light across our area at the moment as well too, and the seas are running normal at the moment. And if we look at the Western Caribbean, the trough system I should mention first, that was south of Jamaica, that looked as if it could develop, but that has petered out and it's no longer system of significance. But there's another trough system that's affecting Puerto Rico all the way through to Cuba, generating showers. Jamaica especially had heavy shower activity. 49.1 millimeters of rainfall recorded over Jamaica overnight. And as far as tomorrow is concerned, that trough system, as we bring up our forecast map, is going to continue to affect those islands. Jamaica will continue to get some showers, parts of Cuba. The Bahamas, though, the northern Bahamas will likely be the dry spot. We're not expecting a whole lot of shower activity there. And across the Eastern Caribbean, we're not seeing any green areas, but that trough system will continue to generate some showers and some rain over the northern islands. And because of lingering instability here in Barbados and the Windward Islands, we aren't ruling out the possibility of some showers and even some isolated thunderstorms. So we go on now to the 4-day forecast. And tomorrow it's going to be partly cloudy with scattered showers. Fair to partly cloudy on Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The atmosphere begins to dry out, so we don't expect a whole lot of shower activity. Sunrise will be at 29 to 6 and the sun will set at 24 minutes after 6. Our first daytime high tide 27 after 9 and the first daytime low 29 minutes before 4. Seas will be slight to moderate in open water. Swells will peak at around 2 meters and the winds will come in from the east-southeast to the east at 10 to 35 kilometers per hour. So expecting lighter winds. Tonight will continue to be cloudy. We're expecting scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms. Tomorrow fair to partly cloudy with a few scattered showers. And we leave you now with a final look at forecast weather conditions for the region and then our selected international cities.
Now here's a recap of the top stories interpreted for the hearing impaired and brought to you with the compliments of Carlton and Emerald City supermarkets, where the weekly specials are at better prices.
Finance Minister Chris Sinclair says the Barbados economy is still on track to register growth this year of over 2%. Mr. Sinclair is on record stating that Barbados' recovery from the global economic and financial crisis will depend on how quickly its major trading partners rebound. Tourism officials in Barbados are smiling with the news of a significant increase in visitor arrivals for the first 4 months of the year. Information on the state of the industry came at the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's annual general meeting at the Hilton. But Executive Vice President Sue Springer says while the numbers are up, spending is down. The West Indies have gone 2 down in the Digicel Pearls one-day international series against India. Playing in the rain-affected second ODI at the Queen's Park Oval in Trinidad and Tobago today, the Windies lost by 7 wickets under the Duckworth-Lewis method. In the forecast for tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy at times with some scattered showers and possible isolated thunderstorms, while tomorrow, fair to partly cloudy with a few scattered showers.
That recap of the top stories interpreted for the hearing impaired was brought to you with the compliments of Carlton and Emerald City supermarkets, where the weekly specials are at better prices.
Before we go, we remind you to stay right here on CBC TV8 as Prime Minister Frendel Stewart addresses the nation in just a moment. That's our time tonight. Thank you for spending it with us. I'm Pearson Bowen. For the crew, to all of you, good night. By God's will, we'll see you tomorrow.